Developing now, this is a live look at downtown LA where anti-ICE demonstrations continue to happen. In the newest development, the Trump administration is sending 700 Marines to join the National Guard following a weekend of violent protests in Southern California. A news helicopter spotted several different protests happening around the city, including outside a detention center where a dispersal order has been given by law enforcement. As it zooms out, you can see the different scenes. One U.S. official told local journalists that National Guardsmen are carrying weapons but don't have rounds in the chamber, and that their priority is to de-escalate as much as possible and protect federal personnel and property. Over the weekend, thousands of protesters were seen in L.A. We saw car fires, what was left of 5 Waymo vehicles that were set on fire. But again, protests continuing on this 4th day in Los Angeles. This comes as labor unions led a march and rally for immigration rights in Seattle today and called for the release of one of their leaders following his arrest in California. David Huerta was protesting an ICE raid in L.A. Friday when agents took him into custody. He was released earlier this afternoon. KOMO's Joel Marino's live with a response in our city and the demands demonstrators are making. Joel?
Yeah, one of the biggest complaints, Mary, is that they say there is no due process in these immigration cases. They say people are just being snatched up and disappeared. And they say in the case of David Huerta, he was just exercising his constitutional rights when he was assaulted and then detained. Now, led by the Service Employees International Union, as well as others, the march and rally in Seattle called for an end to the immigration raids and for David Huerta's immediate release. Other participants at today's event included MLK Labor and OneAmerica. Now, about 200 people took part and filled the plaza outside City Hall, where they denounced the Trump administration and called for people to stand together against injustice. They also said the National Guard should have never been mobilized against ordinary citizens, especially when California's governor didn't want a military force deployed.
I think for us today, it's really about coming together in solidarity and support for, President David Huerta and what happened to him in LA, and as well as just what's happening, in LA and across the country with these raids.
I think this weekend what we saw was their playbook at an all-time high, creating a public crisis by unleashing the National Guard, by military force on everyday people like us.
Well, Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell made a brief appearance at today's rally. He voiced support for David Huerta and his cause. City Council member Alexis Mercedes Rink also on hand today. Now, the Seattle rally ended peacefully, unlike the images we've seen out of Los Angeles with clashes between protesters and police, which have led to dozens of arrests. Now, we do know, as you mentioned, that a judge set bail for $50,000 for Huerta's release, but at this point, he still faces felony charges of conspiracy to impede an officer. Mary?
Joel, did union leaders say what their next steps will be to address the immigration raids?
Well, they said they were already kind of seeing part of their goal fulfilled today by having the mayor of Seattle, as well as that city council member, come out and take part, show support. They say they've also got to do outreach, grassroots neighborhood outreach, to get other people who aren't at this rally or didn't see it active and involved.
Thank you. The demonstrations come as LA braces for more protests over deportations. The protest started Friday following immigration raids. National correspondent Matt Gelka has the latest.
Demonstrations continued Monday after a weekend where protests escalated into violence in Los Angeles, the city becoming the latest flashpoint over immigration enforcement, with the president deploying the National Guard.
They were afraid to do anything, and we sent out the troops, and they've done a fantastic job.
Protests started following ICE raids at several locations in and around LA on Friday, including a Home Depot parking lot in Paramount, south of the city.
The people that are causing the problem are professional agitators, they're insurrectionists, they're bad people, they should be in jail.
The protests continued in the days that followed, shutting down some streets and freeways, with some self-driving cars being set on fire, clashes between protesters and law enforcement, and things boiling over following the National Guard's arrival.
This violence that I've seen is disgusting. It's escalated now since the beginning of this incident.
California officials blamed Trump's deployment of the Guard as the reason for the escalation, with the White House saying the situation was out of control before that.
It's an escalation that didn't have to happen. Why were there raids? You know, we had been told that he was going to go after violent criminals. It wasn't a drug den, it was a Home Depot.
White House border czar Tom Homan said over the weekend nobody was above the law when asked about the potential for government official arrests, as the Trump administration has repeatedly criticized Democratic leadership in California.
Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy.
I would do it if I were Tom. I think it's great.
Homan said Monday there were never any plans to arrest Governor Gavin Newsom.
We arrested a sexual predator, arrested gang members, arrested somebody that had an armed robbery conviction. So we made L.A. safer that day, but you're not hearing any of this. All you hear is a rhetoric about ICE being racist and ICE being Nazis and terrorists, and Governor Newsom feeds that.
Newsom vowed Monday to sue the Trump administration over deploying the National Guard and cutting out state leadership in the process, saying Trump flamed the fires of the situation, and it's exactly what the president wanted. Reporting in Washington, I'm Matt Gelka.
That brings us to our KOMOnews.com question of the day. Should President Trump have sent the National Guard to L.A. to control attacks on federal agents? Yes or no?